Hello everybody, this is going to be a tutorial on Peter Eisenman. Um, I'm going to be doing specifically House 6, basing it on a drawing from that project, and another image from the City of Culture of Galicia, which is in Spain, a project that it's a kind of a recent build that they were doing over there. So to begin with, I want some reference images, and sometimes you can have enough room on your screen to have images on the side and your program. I'm actually going to put the pictures inside of our work area over here. So to do that, I'm going to type picture in my command line up on top. I'm going to press enter. That's going to allow me to select the image that I want, basically just drag a corner, and there we go. We have a reference image inside of our 3D modeling software. I want to do that process one more time, and I'm going to select this one. And there we go. We got our two reference images. So this is a kind of a top-down view of an actual built uh, site over in Spain by Eisenman architects. So you can see that there's kind of these swatches being cut through here. And that's actually based on the city's historic street pattern. It's one way to kind of derive some forms. So those black lines are going to be pedestrian traveling lanes. So a little bit about those projects. I'm going to be basing the main form off of this kind of cubic and planar interaction over here, and the way that I'm going to cut it and kind of deviate from the grid will be using this stuff. But I like this project to kind of hybridize because it has an undulating surface, and over here our surface is going to be undulating. So let's just try to hybridize both of them, but mainly base it on House 6 right over here. So let's get going. Right away I'm going to actually add a new layer. I'm going to call it picture. That's where I'm going to put those pictures so I can turn them on and off if I need to. I'm going to go over to my properties, to its layer information, and I'm going to drag it into picture, or at least selecting the picture. That way, if I don't want them to be showing, I can remove them or I can put them back on. Color is not really an important option for that one, so right away I'm going to turn off my grid that I have. So I have my surfaces in one layer, my intersection, which is that grid on top, in another layer, and then pictures in another layer. All right. I'm going to create another new layer. I'm going to call this one cube. It looks like my picture is actually misspelt, which doesn't really matter, but it annoys me. So I'm going to select that layer. That's the layer I'm going to be working in for a little bit of time. And I'm just going to make some cubes to kind of subtract from this main solid. So we're going to go to our box tool over here, and that's just going to allow us to quickly make a kind of cube shape. I'm going to change the color on here to be a little bit more contrasting, a little easier to see the differences between the two volumes. And then I'm going to type the copy command and just copy and paste a few cubes to kind of work with. This might be too many cubes to work with, but we can always delete them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this poly surface over here and have these cubes subtract away some space or volumes from it, because we kind of want, if we imagine this as a fully defined cube, we can see that there's a lot of voided area that is subtracted from it. So we're just going to try to cut a few of those larger sections out. And how I'm going to do that is we can move these cubes with our arrows. So if you do not have gumball on, you won't be able to see those arrows. If you go down here to your bottom bar, it says gumball. If you click that on, that allows us to move our object on like 3 modes of axis, X, Y, and Z. These squares on the leading edge will allow us to transform its size a little bit easier and quicker. And then these arcs are obviously going to rotate the object on those axes. So to begin, let's just say if we're looking at this, like I want to subtract this whole bottom edge that's kind of facing us over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this thing out. I'm going to pop it into the volume a little bit. We kind of analyze how much it's taken away. Maybe I want it to be a little less and show a little bit more meat above it. So let's just start with there. Let's say I want that that edge kind of taken away. And if you want to make this a little bit more regimented, you could put down a gridded line or a grid on each face to kind of help you subtract from. I suggest working from a grid if you want to do some spacing that is a little bit more in your control. If you don't want to use a grid, that's completely fine. I suggest using the grid. Eisenman would suggest using the grid. But for this quick modeling process, I am not going to use the grid. So what we're going to do is when we have poly surfaces to subtract from each other, we can use Boolean options. And over here, there's the Boolean Union. That's going to put both of these objects together. If we go through, there's Boolean Difference, which is a subtraction. So one will subtract from the other one. There's an intersection. So wherever those two intersect, that will be the piece that remains. And Boolean Split will just split it into its constituent parts. And these three are primarily the most used Boolean options. So we're going to do Boolean Difference. You can type it up in the command line, Boolean Difference, or you can click it on the Boolean options. Now it's asking us select surfaces or poly surfaces to subtract from. We'll select our main surface, press enter, and now we're going to select surfaces or poly surfaces to subtract with. And that'll be this one right here. And something to kind of you can control is this delete input option. So if we have delete input equals yes, when we delete or when we press enter, it will take away our red object that is going to be doing the cutting or the deleting, and nothing will be there. If we have delete input no, this red will stay and we can use it again. I have plenty of objects to use for cutting, so I'm just going to I'm going to actually delete the red input. So I'm going to have delete input yes. So when I do that Boolean difference option, we can see it has deleted part of our main poly surface. And I'm going to fast forward through through a portion of this. It's going to be a repeat of the process. I'm going to kind of analyze my image over here, see what I want to take away, and then utilize these red guys over here and start to subtract it away. So with that being said, I'm going to start subtracting a little bit. All right, so that's kind of all I really want to do to this right now. You guys can do pretty much whatever you guys want in terms of kind of subtracting from that volume. I'm kind of satisfied with what this looks like in the time frame that I have for making this video. Didn't want to take too much of this top surface away because then we wouldn't get that continuous kind of surface going on. So I'd say for right now this is looking very decent. Now I'm just going to add in some planes like we see over here that kind of do a little corresponding to some sort of grid. I'm just going to do two kind of planes right there. And again, we can make those from our box right there. These planes have subtractions out of them in some places, so we can actually use yet another cube to design our plane. So if we just make a cube, bring it up to where we want it to be. I'm going to say I want a little bit more like that taken out. I'm actually going to create a new layer real quick as well, call these planes, so that we're working with these planes. And our cube can still be the cutting material. So I'm going to move with planes. So here's our plane. Here's our cutting block. Kind of want this little edge right here. Cut out right there. Nothing too fancy. So it's gonna work for what I need. I'm going to do another Boolean difference. The plane is the thing I want to subtract from. The cube is the subtractor. So there we are. We have a plane that we can work with. If we want to be obviously more precise with our movement, we can type in move and select the object that we want to move and click a point that we want to kind of snap to if we need. I'm going to kind of snap right there. I want it to be probably close to this face right here. So I'm just going to type in move again. Select my object, and I can actually select this point right here. If you hold shift in the direction you want to move and click tab, it'll lock it on that plane. And then you can use your mouse to select an edge where you want it to meet. So it's a little helpful trick right there. Looks like we're not all the way inside of our object right there. I'm going to move this in the Z direction this way. If we hover over our point right here and control click, we can lock it in the vertical plane. And then wherever we want this to end, like I want it to meet up to the base of this, we can select that right there. Looks pretty decent. I actually don't really like how this is meeting that, so I'm going to move it a little ways. Maybe right here. I also don't like how high those are, so I'm going to go back into my cube layer, make another cutting object, kind of figure out a plane to where I want those cut. Maybe I'll wait until the end to cut those to a specific height. So right now I'm going to fast forward and I'm going to make a couple planes to round this project out. All right, so that's starting to look pretty decent. You can see that I subtracted some larger areas away and did a little overhang, some small channels all the way through these planes, kind of made in the way to emulate it. To do all those operations, again, I'm going to reiterate that your Boolean difference option is the way to go. And just remember your Boolean difference and split command will be the the best approach to kind of generate these forms. So I started out with this being one full thickness, and if you want to split that in half, you can do the line command. Make sure you have your midpoint selection down here going. You can go to the midpoint of your object. Now you have that curve. We can extrude the curve up, make it large enough so it can go through the whole entire plane. You can then delete that last curve, take this plane that you've extruded, and now we'll go do the split command. We'll select our plane that we want to cut in half, and then we'll select our cutting plane, and we can delete our cutting plane when we're done. And right now you can see that there are two new objects. The only thing is they aren't complete polysurfaces, so then we can't do Boolean differences from them. What to remember is you can put another surface on there and join those surfaces into one closed polysurface. Or a nice quick tip is if you have these orthogonal like volumes, you can type cap up in your command prompt up there, and when you press that, what'll happen is it completes that object for you. So now this is a one closed polysurface. We can do cap again, and it'll cap that face right there. And then remember the Boolean difference option, so you can kind of move these in position to where you want. Again, if you want to be more precise to where those things laid out, you can type in the move command, click on the point to where you want to get it lined up to, and then you can mark it there. Otherwise, you can just gumball move the entire way. Intersect your object where you want it, type in Boolean difference, select our object that we want to subtract from, and then select these objects that we're subtracting. And that's how we kind of do the majority of these operations. So play around, have some fun. I'm going to spend another minute or two kind of cleaning this up. One thing that I'm going to add is, so on this drawing we can see that there's some grid lines in curve form that are going to be giving us a little bit more texture. I'm actually going to utilize the grid that we all should have, this intersection grid right here. Since we already have it, we might as well have some fun with it. So I'm actually going to try to use the split command here. Select the objects to split. I'm going to say this grid is what we're going to split. Let's get rid of these planes real quick. And press enter. And then select the cutting objects. And I'm going to say that, let's just see what this does. If our volumes around here can be the splitting object. So if we press enter, it says 36 curves split into 144 pieces. Let's ungroup real quick. See what those pieces, wonderful. So right where these lines meet our surface is where they actually split. So we can go through and kind of, delete all this information out that we don't want. I just want the information when the lines are on this surface. So I'm going to get rid of all this. I don't need to use this grid for anything else. I just want the line work that is touching our surface. So I'm going to go through and delete this real quick. All right, so I think that's cleaned up pretty good. For the most part, I think this is a pretty decent approach to creating kind of a hybrid between the two. I could spend a ton of time, go into this thing, and really detail it out to really make it believable. Just for the sake of time in this tutorial, you can really delve into this and really develop it to as much as you want. I'm going to stop here. I don't have this deviation from the grid really very apparent in there. It's pretty much the house project 6, and then I'm just taking the idea that this is a surface. It's kind of a total ripoff, but I think it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. I guess one thing that I could do is, since these are irregular uh, pathways through, um, taken from the historic city, I guess I can go through and create these uh, subtractions from what I have here to make it slightly more chaotic, maybe one coming through here. But I feel like I really have to develop that um, pretty particularly. One way to do that, I suppose, would take our polyline here, and if we want, we can come in, trace out some existing line work from this project. This is from historical context and from a cityscape there. It might not make sense to take this kind of information and implement it in a project like this for representation, but that's just what this project is, experimenting with representation and trying to come up with interesting results. So maybe this isn't the best approach. Maybe it will make the uh, cube look a little weird, but let's just try it out and see what effect we get from it. All right, so what I've done is obviously I traced some of the historical paths. I've extruded them with extrude curve up. I use the cap command to put a solid surface on top of those so they're not just open. And then what I'm going to do is try a Boolean difference option. So I'm going to just kind of move these over a bit. I'm going to go from the top view just to see what this looks like. All right, so let's see what this looks like when we do a Boolean difference. It might look ridiculous and we might just not uh, do anything, or we might not work with them, but let's give it a shot. So I want all the green objects selected on here and all the red to be my cutting object. So I have all the green selected, press enter. I'm going to use the red as my cutting, and we'll Boolean difference those. And let's put our planes back on. I'm just going to look at this in my true isometric view from the southwest perspective. Let's see what this kind of looks like. I don't really know if that historical context really is going to be super apparent. I guess we would have to also slice all of those grid lines out again, which um, could be useful. I think maybe for this project, or at least this video, I'm not going to put those historical um, cutouts in. Let's just make it 2D quick, give it a test, see what it looks like, and if it doesn't look great, then we don't need to do it. So I'm going to select all what I need, make 2D real quick, parallel view, maintain source layers. That's always important. We want all of these to be in their own layers, so when we go into Illustrator, they're organized, easier for us to manage. Scene silhouette. So the scene silhouette is going to be this entire exterior boundary. Considering the style of drawing only has one line weight and some hidden lines, I'm not concerned about the scene silhouette in this situation. If you want a scene silhouette, you can see up in this viewport that it'll be a heavier, thicker line. I don't need that for this one, so I'm just going to do that and group our output together. So let's go ahead and make 2D. See how that's reading. If that I don't know. I kind of think that makes it a little bit more interesting. What the heck, we'll go with it. So if we're going to be going with it, I'm going to go in and redo the Boolean difference to also incorporate these to getting rid of that grid. So I'm going to go through, fast forward this, split out all these grid lines, and we'll go from there. All right, for the most part, after I've gone through, cleaned it up, I'm really liking what's going on right here. For right now, I'm just going to call it quits on the 3D modeling. Maybe I'll come back here before I end the video and create another plane that kind of comes up here, because I feel like it needs a little bit of balance back there. I'll try it out, and if I don't really need it, I don't need it. But for the most part, I think that this is a great start on what I'm going to be needing. So what we're going to do now is, after you guys make your 2D, this is going to be make 2D, make sure obviously they're all on their own different layers. What you're going to do is select everything that you want, and for this kind of a Peter Eisenman video, it's going to be your main surface, your planes that are going to be cutting through. If you have any line grids on there, add that in. But for the most part, this is all the information that we are going to be needing for Illustrator. When we select all of our Make 2D, we will go to File, Export Selected, and what we're going to do is save it as an Illustrator file right here, and we can call it whatever we want. I'm going to call it Eisenman line work. And should be ready to go. So once you get that done, we'll be going into Illustrator. Snapshot of current view is what we want. In the future, if you need to have a preserved model scale, so let's say you want to make a 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot drawing set, you can print those out to a scale, and that's where the preserved model scale comes in. But for right now, we don't need any of that, so let's just export it. And once we do that, let's open that line work in Illustrator. All right, so I actually went back into the model and I created another plane over here that I wanted to kind of balance the image out. I also subtracted part of the volume from whatever this continuation of the subtraction was. The one thing I wanted to hit on, though, is you can see our grid is, for the most part, complete. If we do find, like, maybe I don't like that line being exactly or pretty close to that one, we can delete that one away, give it a better feel. The one thing that you might notice is you can see right here that it didn't completely go to the end. So what I'm going to do is there's a command called extend. We can click extend, and what it asks for is to set a boundary for that line to end at. We can click that object, press enter, and then it says select the curve to extend. If we select that curve, it'll extend it all the way to the end. So go through if you need to find places on your grid, like right here. It's also not complete. We can go through, select our boundary, press enter, select extend, and it'll continue that line to the edge. So go through if you are missing some of that information. Make sure your grid is complete. It'll be obvious if it is not when we go into Illustrator, and it's a lot harder to correct those lines in Illustrator. So let's get all of our line work ready to go inside of our modeling program, and then you can transfer all that over through exporting selected up in the file and then saving it as an Illustrator file like we did before. So if you are missing those lines, go through and make sure that they extend all the way. All right, there's actually one more thing that I wanted to do before we get into Illustrator, and that is when I was looking at this image over here, I really like what's going on in this image, and there's some hidden line information that is showing up here. So I'm going to go through and show you how to do that. Let me hide my picture real quick. Go back into our set view isometric southwest. I'm going to select everything. When I make 2D this time, there's an option right here called hidden line. And if we do hidden line on that, we select OK. It's going to show every hidden line. So if we go into our top view, it's going to look very ridiculous. We don't want to have all this information to go into Illustrator with because there's no way we're going to be able to decipher what's going on here. But over here, we can start to turn off some of these hidden lines. So I don't want any of the grid lines to be hidden lines, so we can take those away. The planes, we can also take away some of that information, and the surface lines. So those are the three hidden lines that we have. If we look at just turning on the inner or the planes, maybe that's all the hidden line information that we want to show. Otherwise, if we want to go back to our view, let me get rid of what we just created. We want to go back to our isometric view, and basically, let's say we want to render this polysurface's hidden lines, this plane's hidden line, this plane's hidden line, and let's just say that hidden line. We can do make 2D on those with the hidden line selected, press OK. Go back into our top view, and then we can see that there's hidden line information on the objects that we want to show. You guys can mess around to see what hidden lines you might want to carry into the final drawing. I'm just going to go back and let's just say I want the planes to only have hidden lines for my final drawing. So I'm going to go with that, do some hidden lines, make 2D on that entire thing. And then maybe I'm just going to say, all right, it's just the planes. So I'm going to select every, select all of these guys, and maybe I can turn those off. I'm going to turn off my intersections. So the only things that I'm going to be exporting are the things that are showing up here. It looks like we might have some incomplete information again. So let's go through into our extend tool. Just say that this is our boundary. We want to extend that curve. So our hidden line, again, will be extended to where we want it to be. We can see that there's also incomplete lines in this direction. So let's see if we can't extend those lines. Extend that line. Maybe extend this line all the way to there. Basically, just clean up our drawing, make sure that all of our information is coming through to where we want it to. With that being said, let us be done with the line work. Let's get this translated over to Illustrator and get working. All right, now we're going to do some Illustrator work. So I'm going to start by creating a new document right here. I'm going to keep it as an 18-inch by 18-inch artboard. I want it to be a square image. I'm going to stay in inches, but you can change the way that the document is set up, centimeters, millimeters, picas, pixels, depending on what your background is. I'm going to do inches and create. So now that we have our 18-inch by 18-inch square, I'm also going to open up our Eisenman line work. So there it is right there. We'll open that up. Now we have it ready to go. I want to take this and put it into our document that is 18-inch by 18-inch. So I'm going to select all of that and I'm going to drag it over there. Before I do that, though, I have to make sure that up here in the corner there is 3 lines. If we click that, go down to Paste Remembers Layers. If you have that checked, when we have all of this selected and we drag it over to a different file, it'll bring all of that layer information over, so it remembers it for us, and then we can go in and still have the control over visibility of things. That's very important to have that checked. Otherwise, you'll drag it over, it'll all be under one layer, which is not really practical for us. So now that we have it here, I'm going to size it up a little bit. I'm going to say I want 3 inches of margin on either side. So we have 1, 2, 3. This grid that you're seeing right here, it's not showing up very well on the recording, but you can see there's 3 inches of margin over there. And while I'm sizing this, I'm holding shift, because if I don't hold shift, it'll do everything disproportionately. So I'm going to hold all of it with shift while I size it. Make sure you have everything selected. It looks like I did not get my surface information. So again, we'll go back to 3-inch margin on the left side and 3-inch margin on the right side. And it looks like that leaves us with, if I center this from top to bottom now, a little over 2 inches on top and a little over 2 inches on bottom. If we deselect that, I think that centers the object quite well on the page. If we go too close to the edge, we don't leave ourselves enough space for the image to be an object in the center of a page. So I'm going to go with that. Right now, let's kind of get our grid showing. So right now the grid is showing up as white because our layer information is white. I'm going to select everything on that layer. So this little circle will select all of that information on the layer. I'm going to go to our stroke color over here, and I'm going to make that black for right now. And black is 000 in RGB. So now we can see that it's coming up as the right information. Another thing is if we base this image on our previous image, it's all one line weight. He doesn't, in this image, he's not showing it as multiple line weights. So we're going to have all of them be the same line weight. So let's select everything on the page right now. I'm going to go over to weight right now. It's all at 1 point. We can do a lighter line weight. I'm going to see what 0.75 looks like. Maybe I'm going to type in 0.85. I don't want it to be a full 1. I want it to be have a little bit better fidelity. So I think that 0.85 is going to be working for me. You guys can mess around with the line weights if you want to get a little bit more control. Right away, what I'm going to do is I don't really like the spacing that is on this hidden line. So I'm going to go up to the hidden line layer. I'm going to select everything. And I'm actually going to mess with its basically it's dashes. So its spacing is 5.6 and the gap is 5.6. I'm going to see what a 3 dash looks like. Oops, not a 33. A 3 dash looks like and a 6 gap looks like. We zoom in, turn off our grid. I think that's working slightly better for what I'm going to be wanting. There's a little bit of confusion going on over here. We can always go through and delete some of this information to bring more clarity to the page. For right now, I won't delete any of that until I get to the end. But as for right now, it's looking pretty good. I am going to create on our layer 1, there's nothing on layer 1. I'm going to call this live paint. I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to copy and paste it. And then I'm going to move that paste into this layer 1. All of that information into layer 1. So then if we want to turn off our other layers with all that line information, this is just what I like to do. I like to separate out my live paint from my line work. It just makes it a little easier in my opinion. So we'll have all of this new line weight selected that's in our live paint layer. I'm going to go to, oh boy, let's see. Let's go to Object, go down to Live Paint, and if we click Make, what that's going to do is allow us to kind of paint and fill these by numbers in a sense. And if we go over to our Shape Builder tool right here, go to Live Paint Bucket, what that does for us is now we can come in and kind of fill these with different colors. So if we want to use a reference over here, if we want to try to emulate this color palette over here, we can do that, or we can create our own color palette. Just for the sake of expediency, I'm going to utilize this color palette. I think it'll work quite well. So let's get some different colors selected. I'm going to go over to my, oops, I'm going to go over to my bucket tool, and I want it to be kind of blue. And it looks like it's more of a robin's egg blue that he's going with. So let's start with that. And he's emphasizing cut lines with it. So let's just say maybe this cut line in here we can zoom into to make it a little bit easier for us. Let's say that this entire interior we want to be blue on this cut. And then we can carry that over and have this entire cut just be blue. And this guy right there. Since we have multiple planes of this, I'm just going to say that arbitrarily this one looks like it could use some blue. Maybe this one's going to be blue too. It's looking pretty decent. This one coming in. Now I'm going to go through and let's just say I'm going to work with some reds. Oops, I don't want it to be that extremely red, but let's just add a little bit more color in here. So the image is kind of a pale red. So if we kind of tune it in a bit, we can always go back and change these colors too. But for right now, I'm just going to go with something like that. We can come in and paint kind of the rest of these cutouts. So I'm going to fast forward through this and just get it painted. So utilize a reference image. Try to get a little bit of that style going on. If you guys want to deviate from it, again, this is open for interpretation. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to color fill what I feel necessary. And then once we get that done, we can go from there. Okay, so what I did right now is I went up to File, Place, and I selected an image that I wanted to get some of these colors from. I'm not really liking how my color choice is turning out. I mean, I think it would be just fine, but I'm actually going to try to copy exactly what he's doing here for color. Um, One thing that's an amazing tool is the Eyedropper Tool. So the Eyedropper Tool will select colors to be able to paint from. I'm going to go in here and select that red right there. You can see over here that it automatically selects that red. And now I can go back into my live paint bucket and I can just go back and replace with those colors. So that's how I'm going to do these color options right now. I'm going to fast forward again, get all these painted to the colors that I want. And you can select any image that you want. You can even put in your own color palette image you want to select from. So that's how you do that real quick. All right, now that I have most of my, I'm pretty sure all my coloring is done. I'm liking how it turned out. I think the next step for me is to kind of mess with the line weights. So with this live paint selected, I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to go to the stroke options, and I'm actually going to click this button to have none, so I can just see what this thing looks like as a live paint. And it kind of looks cool like that. You get a sense for the volume and the cutouts. Now I'm just going to have all of these other layers on that have the line work on it. I'm going to lock my live paint layer and my picture layer. And then I'm going to select all of these, and I want them to have the same black stroke. So I'm going to go to my RGB 0, 0, 0. There we go. All that line work is black. The only thing that I want to change is I want my hidden line up here. So I'm going to select everything on the hidden line, and I'm going to change that to a light gray. So I'm going to do about 100, 100, 100, maybe a little lighter than that. Let's do 200. There we go. So I'm liking how that hidden line is looking, but I kind of want to change the dashed information. So I'm just going to go to select all that information. I have my dash line. Let's say I want this to be 2 point and my dash to be 8. Let's see how that turns out. Zoom in real quick. And that actually looks worse. So I'm going to select all of those again. I'm going to maybe do a 3. See how that looks. That looks a lot better. And then while I have all these selected, I'm going to change the opacity to be slightly lower. So we're going to have all those selected. We'll go down to our, let's see, properties on that. And here's the opacity. So if we change that to 50, press enter, it's going to show up less aggressive on our backdrop right there. Maybe I want that to be even lower. So I'm going to select all that line work again, go to opacity, see what 30 looks like, press enter. And I want that to be just slightly more visible. So let's go through again, select that, go to our properties on it, and let's say, let's see what 40 looks like. Looks pretty decent. And if we're changing the opacity, let's actually just see what a white line would look like. So with white, that's 255 full saturation. And our opacity, maybe we can change it to 50 now. There we go. I think I like that. We can go in and delete information if we don't want it. Like, I don't like how this hidden line is competing for that corner line over there. So I'm just going to delete this information out. Maybe that one too. Maybe that one. Maybe this one as well. Some hidden lines just start to muddle this a bit. So I'm going to actually go through and delete all these. It's some information that I don't really want confusing the drawing. And you can use this at your own discretion for what information you want to show that hidden line with. I'm just going to go through real quick and clean it up the way that I see fit. Go through your drawing, see which ones that you want to keep or take away. It's totally up to you. Like this one right here, not really important for my level of information. And again, this line might be doing it. So just go through, delete all those hidden lines that you don't want, keep the ones that you do want, and we can go from there. All right, the next step is, so I didn't really keep a lot of my hidden line information. Just kept deleting away. Like I said, it's up to you guys to figure out what level of information you want to be showing. But for myself, I think let's just say I want this panel to be the most important thing, showing a little bit more of that dashed line. Now I'm going to go through, because you can either keep this as a white background. I want that white surface to contrast just a little bit more. I'm going to actually do a black or a gray backdrop like is shown here. So I'm actually going to go and colorize your artboard. I'm just going to do a square to kind of fill it. I'm going to put it underneath everything. Call this background. I'm going to get a square here. Just go to the edges of our artboard. And then on our stroke, I don't really want a stroke. And in our color, I'm going to use our fancy eyedropper tool, kind of select that, see how that looks. I actually might want to change the colors a little bit. I don't know why this is being shown as white, or not as white there. That's kind of frustrating. Let's go back to the background real quick. Actually, we can just go to our live paint. I'm going to go to live paint real quick. I'm going to hide all of these, lock all of those, only work with my live paint. And I'm going to go through and actually paint those white so they show up as white when I do my background. I'm going to go through and paint those real quick. All right, so I'd say for the most part, if we compare to the colors that we're seeing on this image and how they've been applied, I'd say it was fairly successful. Be creative with this, change it up a little bit if you need to. I actually changed my line weight at the end to 0.5 to read a little bit lighter, because again over here we can see that they're not really doing too much of an intensity with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Let me know if there's any specific questions on how some things were done. Obviously do what you want to do to make it read a certain way. Have fun with it. Let me know again if you guys need any help. Otherwise, this is the Eisenman tutorial. It was his house project, and this top surface, I'm saying, is from the City of Culture in Galatia. So, with that being said, have a good day.